false
no, it's not.
assumptions.
No, it's not.
Same
No, it's
to
not.
what people are doing to your religion.
Give you one example.
Joseph, I want to hold him on that.
Shifa
I want
Hospital, talking about Shifa
I want to hold you on that.
Hamas's headquarters.
Under the United Nations, people that are occupied have the right to military defense against the occupier,
So you
to evict the occupier.
So you justify the existence of Hamas as an
Not,
illegitimate terrorist?
no. I'm giving you the definition. Do you agree with that definition or not?
Never seen it on the UN. Please show me.
Do you agree with it?
Show me that.
Oh, so now you want me to show you the definition?
Yeah, I don't believe to your definition.
Okay,
of the
so
UN.
if it exists, would you accept it?
If it exists,
Yeah.
terrorism is a proven tool.
All right, let me ask you
I'll finish my
personally.
sentence.
Yeah.
In my opinion, terrorism, and also as a matter of fact, terrorism is a proven tool, right, to kick foreign powers out. We can both agree about it, right?
Yes.
The British, they left Israel, Palestine, British mandatory Palestine,
Yes.
according to their papers, because of Jewish terrorism, right?
Yes. King David Hotel, I think, was it? Yeah.
One of them.
Yes.
The Palestinians, they see Jews as foreigners. They see us as if, let's say, we're the French in Algeria or the British in India, right? And they truly believe that if they'll use terrorism, we'll be out. But from the other side, as Jews, we don't see ourselves as foreigners, and we just came back home. We have no other home to go to. And when they use this tool, right, to kick foreigners out against indigenous people, the reaction will not be a reaction of British in mandatory Palestine, right, or French in Algeria. The reaction will be a reaction of indigenous people who are fighting for their existence. So obviously, first of all, they're trying to do whatever they can do to minimize the damage, right? I'm against any killing of any civilian. I live with Palestinians most of my life. Some of my best friends are Palestinians. And now it's not like saying I have a black friend, it's truly friendships. We disagree about lots of things, but to me it's family. I always say it. I always say it. Right? It's like a mother and father or kids in the house. They don't have to agree about anything, 100%, right? They can argue. You have a wife?
Yes.
You can fight with your wife. Your kids can fight with each other, right? Cousins can fight. They can even punch each other. But you live in the same house. You don't split it into two parts, right? Wait, you don't split the house into two parts. You don't kick the other side.
Please make your point quickly, because you're sort of it's turning into a bar mitzvah speech.
Yeah,
okay.
Funny. But
okay.
Again,
the question I asked you.
I'll just finish my point.
Please, if you.
So I'm saying you don't kick anyone from your house, and you're certainly not involving the neighbors in your conflict, because whatever you guys are doing is just to divide the populations. To bring us farther away.
Who
Foreigners. You're Palestinian?
No.
Exactly.
That's a ridiculous argument. I can't believe that.
I can't
believe that you're even making this argument.
Have you ever been to this place?
No. Okay.
Have you ever talked to the
Please,
people?
you've said a whole lot of stuff. I'm gonna talk about that rather than just put a little question at the end and then hope that will all be forgotten, because I won't forget that. You as an individual, if you perceive that this is your land, that you've been living here for centuries and centuries and centuries.
I never said it's my land. Please. I said I have the right to live in my homeland.
I'm just giving you a principle. Forget homeland. Forget homeland. Forget Jew. Forget anything.
I can't. That's a conflict.
I'm giving you as a human being. You have lived in this land like the Palestinians lived there for centuries and centuries and centuries. Okay? Somebody else comes and they take your home, they take your land. Do you have the right to fight against that? Against that taking or stealing of your land or of your home? Do you have the right?
So now all the Jews who were expelled from the Arab countries are.
Do you have a right to fight?
So I'm saying. I'll answer with a question. So the Jews who were kicked from Iraq, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Yemen, from literally every place in the Arab world, and also from Europe, can they go now and kill local population?
Okay, I'll deal with that.
Self-defense.
I'll deal with that.
Let's say there was a Jew here, right, who was born in Iraq. We talked to him earlier.
Yeah.
Can he now go and stab a random Iraqi person because his family were expelled or slaughtered in the Farhud by the Arabs, by the Iraqis? Can he do it? Is it legitimate to you? Because if so,
it's a false analogy. How? And I'll tell you why it's a false analogy. You're comparing somebody who's living on the land, whose house is stolen, they're still on that land, fighting to get their house back, fighting to get their land back, and you're equating that to an eviction where the person has now lived somewhere else and they want to go back and now kill that person.
So all the Palestinians
hold on a second. So let me ask you the question again. Let me ask you the question again without it becoming another question. If you are living in a land for centuries and centuries, and somebody then comes and takes your house and they take your land by force,
You're describing the
do
Jewish
you
story.
have the right to fight against that? Yes or no?
You describe the Jewish story.
Do you have the right to fight? Yes or no?
It depends in what case. In what case?
I would say yes, you do have the right.
So you kill random people in the street?
No, I didn't say that. You see, now this.
So what kind of fighting?
This is you trying to make an emotive argument.
No, I'm saying that's the
I didn't say
fighting
that.
we see. That's the
I
fighting
didn't
we
say
see.
that. I say that you have to live by the principle of Islam as Muslims, and the Christians who are Christian Palestinians and the Jewish Palestinians
Which
should
Jewish
live by the.
Palestinians? No, again, false assumption.
Oh, there were no Jews living in Palestine
My
before.
family lived there, but they were not Jewish Palestinians as part of Palestinian nationalism.
So
they lived under the British mandate. That's false.
Okay. So
I'll just show you something interesting. Wait. No, again.
What they was
Yeah,
called,
exactly.
They was called Palestinians.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
exactly.
they're not-
You know that.
Exactly.
Their nationality
Anyway,
is not
but let's go back to my
My family, again.
okay. Anyway,
No, that's false.
You know,
Yeah, you know.
this is the problem when we have these
Can you read
discussions.
what's written on this coin?
This is what
Can you read what's written on this
I
coin?
haven't got my glasses.
بالعربي فلسطين. In English it says Palestine, and in Hebrew it says Palestine.
Anyway, so you
أنا عايش مع فلسطينيين
so you
طول
brought
حياتي. أنا بشتغل مع
okay,
فلسطينيين
listen,
طول
brother.
حياتي. Wait. And in Hebrew it says wait. Just let me finish my point.
No,
In Hebrew it says
I was
Palestine, land of
making
Israel.
my point.
I was saying in
I
Hebrew
was
it says
actually
Palestine,
making
land
my
of
point.
Israel. They were not Palestinian Jews. Most of the terms referring to the term Palestine pre-1948 were Jewish. Palestine Airways, Palestine Orchestra, Palestine Post, the newspaper.
Yes.
The soccer team of Palestine. Means
So
Palestine
there were no
contest. All of them
Jews
were
living
Jewish.
in Palestine, is that
There was
right?
3%.
I'm literally saying they were.
Only 3%.
I'm literally saying they were.
3%, right.
But it's not part of the modern
Okay,
Palestinian
anyway,
nationalism.
what worries me about this sort of discussion? You know what? I'll tell you what worries me about this discussion is that a people that suffered so much at the hands of oppression, of having their lives taken from them, their homes taken from them, their possessions taken from them, okay, and being treated like scum, treated like dirt. A deplorable, disgusting, despicable action by Hitler.
Let's exaggerate more, but
Horrible. And yet they justify the subjugation, the oppression, the theft of an innocent people
you know, he said Hitler
who have no army, no air force, right? No navy. You know, another question I'd like to ask you,
you see,
is that you talk about these rockets, yes?
not only rockets.
Okay.
You mentioned you were very smart
how
to
big are
mention
these
Hitler.
rockets? How big
Can
are these
you-
rockets?
How big?
Yes.
Around the size of this guy, just taller a bit.
Yeah, so 6 foot, 8 foot tall rockets, yeah?
Probably more.
And some probably 10 foot, 12, 15 foot rockets, yes? They're fired from the back of these trucks, yes? Yes, okay. Let me ask you a question, yeah?
You need a Palestinian.
Is Israel? Brother, I just have one question, then you can come in, right?
love to.
I just have one question, yes? Palestine is one of the most secure areas in the world by Israeli intelligence, army, air force, navy.
What about the Egyptian,
No.
Jordanian?
Agreed or not?
American?
Agreed or not agreed? Nothing gets in or out. Nothing gets in and out without.
What part of Palestine you mean?
Nothing really gets in and out unless the Israelis allow it.
Wait, you mean Gaza? You mean the West Bank? You mean the rest of Israel?
Yes.
What?
Israel controls the sea, the air,
Gaza or
satellite, everything around that area is
So you're
controlled.
talking about the whole Israel.
The whole of Israel, including Gaza.
All right.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Yes.
Secure.
How do these thousands of rockets find their way into Gaza every year?
They're being built.
How?
By people.
By people. They're being built. Where do the materials come from to build the rockets?
Unfortunately, Israel. Unfortunately.
From Israel. From Israel. No. So Israel is giving them. Israel is giving them the materials.
So wait, listen before you left like little kids. Look. Israel for years, for lots of years, have been sending to Gaza almost every day trucks with medical equipment, with medals, with building materials to build bomb shelters, to build houses, to fix many stuff. And they're using it for wrong purposes. Like
Palestinian people are so sophisticated.
Hamas, not Palestinians.
Hamas is so sophisticated with household goods. They're able to make rockets that can fly.
They built a whole terror tunnel under Gaza.
Right, fly 50 miles, 60 miles, 100 miles into Israel. Yes.
They built a whole terror tunnels system under Gaza.
Yes.
I believe they're sophisticated enough.
And Israel can't control this. Yes.
They do. That's why they bomb it. But they cannot enter physically.
You know why they have rockets in Palestine? Because the Israelis allow them to have those rockets. And you know why they allow them to have those rockets? So when they fire 4,000 of them, or 5,000 of them, or 4,500, like the brother here said, yes? And one house gets damaged in Israel, now they go to the international community. And they say, oh, we poor Israelis, we are under attack from these savage Palestinian people.
Again, minimize Israeli suffering
And then they go and they destroy 18,000 homes of the Palestinians. It's very clever. Very, very clever tactics.
Where this number of 18,000 came from? Again, you put...
If I'm lying, please, to the camera, I say to the camera.
Your whole audience.
It was either.
It's your audience.
No. This is your audience here, right?
That's a camera versus.
Right, he's filming.
20 people.
He's filming, right?
Yeah.
If I'm lying, by all means, underneath.
I will edit to the video, don't
underneath,
worry,
put the caption underneath that this guy Abbas, he lied. It was either Operation Cast Lead or Protective Edge. That they destroyed 18,000 Palestinian homes. If I'm lying, you brothers do the statistics, and if I'm wrong, correct me. If I've made a mistake, I'm happy to retract it.
6 million.
Okay. Now the point.
It's not 6 million.
The point here is.
It's not funny.
What I find.
Being disrespectful is not
What I find deplorable, brother. One second. What I find deplorable is that a people that have truly suffered so much would stand by at the suffering of somebody else. You know, I like many Jews who are great activists for truth.
Which truth?
Professor Norman Finkelstein.
Again, Jews who say things that fits your narrative.
No.
From the other side,
No.
again, I'll let you an example that I disagree with. But for example, there's a Palestinian guy who was born in Khan Yunis. He moved to Israel, and he's being seen sometimes, actually a few years ago, right, in Israeli media. Only two media.
I can't hear you actually.
There's a Palestinian guy who was born. Wait, guys, can you be quiet?
Yeah, too loud. Yeah.
There was a Palestinian guy. An example, I'll compare it to what you just said. There are Palestinians who joined the IDF, for example, supporting Israel.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, wait. No,
It's irrelevant.
I'm comparing it because
irrelevant.
it's like me taking an Arab Israeli who says things that
No,
nice
it's
to me to
irrelevant.
hear.
I'll tell you why it's irrelevant.
Of course it is
I'll tell you why it's irrelevant.
You hate.
I'll explain to you why that's
You
irrelevant.
disagree.
I will explain to
you.
you.
Jews just because there's Zionism
no,
and ideology.
no. I don't go by numbers. I don't go by numbers, and I don't go by the fact that they agree with me. That's
go
why
by numbers when
I
it
tell you
fits
what I
your
go with,
Yeah.
and what you should go with,
Sure.
and what every fair-minded person should go with. Go with the evidence.
He's the one he could.
Right? What is the evidence? And on the merit of that evidence, brothers, please, brothers, on the merit of that evidence, you make your judgment.
How many Palestinians
Now let me
were killed by
explain to you.
Israel
Let me
since 48?
let me explain to you. Let me explain something to you. Watch the debate between Alan Dershowitz,
Watched it
who is
already.
a Zionist.
He's not a Zionist.
He's a Zionist Jew. He believes in the state of Israel. He wrote the book, A Case for Israel. He's a supporter of the state of Israel. Watch his debate with Professor Norman Finkelstein. And what you see is two academics. One a professor, a political scientist. The other one a Harvard law professor, Dershowitz, right? And Dershowitz provides his evidence.
Really? So
And a Professor Norman Finkelstein provides his evidence. I challenge you, any one of you, go and watch that debate and then tell me that Alan Dershowitz is an honest and a true individual explaining as to what is happening. Finkelstein dismantles him with evidence.
Right, so it's like taking the Imam of
Evidence.
Peace and claim that he
Evidence.
represents actual Islam for all of us.
Straw man argument again.
How exactly?
Straw man. I'm not saying he
says
represents
things-
you.
Again, he says things
I'm
that
not
fits
saying he
your
represents
narrative.
you. No, listen.
You take a Jew that says things that fits your narrative,
look.
not a fact or
If a Jew says to me, and you know, this was one of the things that,
Yeah, but you're jumping from claims. All right, let's
not
touch my
at all.
question because you
Not at
ignored
all.
it. You previously
What
ignored
did I
it.
ignore, sorry?
How many Palestinians died since 1948 by Israel?
Thousands, tens of thousands.
How many? Give me a number.
I don't know the exact number.
How many Israelis died?
Probably, again, within very few thousand, maybe 2,000, 2,500, something like that. And the Palestinians is like 10 or 20 times more.
10 or 20 times more.
20 times
So since
more.
1948, Israel killed 34,000 Palestinians, and Palestinians killed 24,000 Israelis.
That's not true.
That's fact.
simply not
I
true.
can give you all the names of the people,
no, come on,
the
that's-
places, the times.
So, okay, so the United
It's
Nations...
it's UN data, Israeli data, Palestinian
Human
data,
rights disagree with you.
UNRWA data.
Amnesty International disagree with you.
It's
They
collected
all
from all
disagree
of
with you.
them.
You know, it's nonsense. What's that?
Sir, it's real data.
It's shared on this platform, and
Yeah.
I've actually seen
Not only me,
And where did
including many of Palestinian activists I
where did
work
that
with.
data come from? I'd be very interested to see that.
Okay, I'll give you the sources, and I'll also
Yeah.
post it on my social media so you can see it again. But it comes from a mix of Amnesty International, the UN, in particular, specifically UNRWA, all right, which has 27,000 active workers in all of the areas of Israel and Palestine. 27,000 out of 30,000 workers, 27 out of them 27,000 out of them working within Israel-Palestine borders. Out of 30,000.
So you're saying what? Sorry, what are the figures? You're saying that 24,000
Israelis
Israelis
killed
died
by
Palestinians, and how many?
34,000 Palestinians
34,000.
killed by Israelis.
Okay, I will humbly go
Search
back
it
and
up.
check those figures. Yes. Okay.
And if anyone here would like to search it up, please search it up.
So now, let's say on the face value, we accept your figures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
to prove a claim,
Hold on
because you
a
say it's
second.
not a conflict.
No, that's fine. That's
but
fine.
within a conflict with this power structure,
But a conflict,
I would accept. Both of us would expect many more.
No. Because a conflict is not about just how many lives are lost, right?
Really?
Okay. How many Palestinians have stolen how many Israeli homes since 1948?
What do you mean? Most of the Palestinian homes were stolen.
How many Palestinians, let me ask the question again, have stolen land and homes from the Israelis? How many homes?
They shouldn't. They don't need to steal homes. They just set people in the streets many times.
How many homes have they stolen from the Israelis?
Again, you compare. It's irrelevant to the topic.
The West Bank.
You might not know, right? You might not know.
West Bank.
Pretty much
all
all
the West Bank.
Since 67.
All the West Bank. You're saying the Palestinians stole that from the Israelis. Okay.
Jordanian,
Hold on a
not the
second.
Palestinian.
Okay, hold on a
Because
second.
the Palestinian
And
never
how
had to do
many
anything about
homes
this. The
have?
Jordanians.
Let's get to the crux of the argument. How many homes have been taken away from the Palestinians, and how much land has been taken away from the Palestinian people? Because that's a marker of conflict as well.
Again, you're
How
using-
much? How many?
You're moving against strong.
Tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, possibly.
531 villages were evacuated.
531
in 1848.
villages were
In
evacuated.
1948.
And
again,
how-
but wait, again.
And how
ignoring
many
the
how many
These are
refugees?
the numbers from 2008
Right.
till now.
The red one is injuries. The blue
Okay.
one is killed.
Okay, so those are
Oh,
so
you can't say it's wrong.
total deaths
Yeah, but
from
that's-
2008 to 2020.
48.
Look at the numbers.
5,590 Palestinians,
Now,
251
Now it's evacuated, and
Israelis.
Israel actually got
Okay.
withdrawing systems.
look at the numbers. How high numbers?
Okay, so what do we have here?
1967, Israel used to be the underdog of the Middle
Okay, so
East.
let's have a look at some of the
That's why
figures
they
that you
look at the
quoted.
numbers, sir.
Let's have a look at some of the figures that you've quoted. Yes. So we have.
2008.
So
Let's
well,
take it from 2008.
No. Okay, fine. I accept that. You've got the Iron Dome, and therefore you're going to get. But you know what?
Not only the Iron Dome, you also got an actual army functioning.
But I made a point, didn't I? What was my point? My point was that one of the concepts in the definition of a war crime is that you use disproportionate force. So let's have a look from 2008 whether Israel has used disproportionate force.
It's not
So,
about disproportionate force.
2008,
It's about one side who actually defends
these are injuries. 3,202 on the Palestinian side, 853 on the Israeli side.
Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
2009, 7,460
Again, you ignore
on
the
the
context.
Palestinian side, 123 on the
How many
Israeli
times the
side.
Palestinian leadership
And it
defended
goes
these
on, and it goes on,
How many
and it goes
times?
on. So,
How many times
as I said to you,
how many
as
times
I-
the Palestinian people were defended by the government?
as I said to you,
But again, compare the whole data, not only the numbers that fits your narrative. So if we're talking about the disproportion right now, let's take the number 3,000 Palestinians versus 800 Israelis.
Right.
These 800 Israelis is the people who got hurt. Many of them were saved because of the government, because of the army, the police, and all the other defending systems. From the other side, you have none of them.
Yes.
Right? So if we compare them, let's compare the whole data.
so that's disproportionate force.
Or one side who actually, they can attack him in the same force.
So see how ludicrous this argument has
No,
become
I'm
now?
saying, again,
what he's
let me
saying
finish
now,
my
no,
sentence.
but you did.
But no, I didn't.
You just said
I didn't. Let me finish.
The Israeli army, air force, police are able to stop the damage from reaching Israel.
I'll give you a different analogy.
But now he's claiming.
But I'm not able to finish one sentence. You just jump from a
No,
point.
that's not true.
So let me finish
You've probably
my
spoken
words.
more than I have. Absolutely.
Sir, come on.
Okay, finish your point.
I'll give you an analogy to it for a second. Even if both sides would attack the same, they don't. Israel attacks stronger. I agree about that. But even if they would attack the same, right? If Israel will always attack more, will always protect more its civilians, the numbers anyway will be higher from the Palestinian side. So right now Israel attacks more, not a disproportionate force, but they attack more because they're stronger anyway. Right? But also defends its civilians. They do two things.
When you attack
Which in the
more,
Palestinian side they do only one, which is only attacking.
when you attack more,
and defend your people.
when you attack more,
So you attack more, the other side
So now
got
you're not
hurt
letting me
more.
speak, are you?
Because again,
I'll let you
ignore it.
finish. I'll let you finish. When you
impossible
when
talking to
you
someone who's not
attack
willing to listen.
more,
The
That is the definition of disproportionate force.
And when you defend your people,
When you attack more than the other people, that is the very definition of disproportionate
in a war,
force.
you always have a
This
stronger
is my
side.
friend.
It's like saying that the
my
soccer
friend,
game,
a 3-year-old in a ring with Mike Tyson is not a war.
In a ring.
It's a turkey
it's
shoot.
like me going to a Hulk,
It's a
slapping him
turkey
few times
shoot.
and expecting him to not attack
It's
me back.
it's a turkey shoot. It's a turkey shoot.
That's a childish.
Okay,
That's
it's
a
not childish
childish
at all.
It is.
You call it a war. I call it a massacre.
How
You call it a war. I call it utter humiliation. You call it a war. I call it putting your foot on a fly.
It's not a war.
Squashing a fly. It's ridiculous.
6 countries versus
Ridiculous.
1. You lost versus
Ridiculous.
6 countries.
Do you
we lost
honestly
48.
think?
And
Do you
Ilifat
honestly
this
think?
is a beautiful sentence
Do you honestly
in
think
Islam.
that?
Ilifat mat.
You know
Maybe
what?
You should move on.
You know what? Do you
Well,
honestly think
you should
that
be
that
more
statement
faithful.
is going to somehow, no, shake me in any way?
What, 6 versus 1?
You know,
when you were the strongest
which
one, when you had
planes?
6 countries,
Which planes?
Nonsense.
Ah,
He's taking the
ah,
revenge.
You took
He's
the
taking the revenge.
No,
There are
you took the
American,
revenge.
there are
You went 6 versus 1.
American. You know, they claim this great victory against the six Arab nations.
It is. Compare the death,
Yes.
compare the land,
Yeah,
Yes.
compare the injuries.
than you, bro.
No, I have
How do you
never
check
Who
it?
supported you militarily?
So I'm there more often.
Not even one American soldier fought for Israel.
There are American Air Force pilots
In 67
who
no.
have said that we were sticking the Star of David on the tail and we were bombing the Palestinians and bombing
completely
the
false.
Arabs.
Show me. Show me now.
Bombing
Your
the
phone is in your
Arabs.
hand.
This is
Show me
American
now.
Air Force
Show me
pilots
now.
saying this.
Show me now,
I'm
please.
not going to be able to just bring it up now.
Just write it
But
up.
find it. You
have an assistant.
you can all listen. I haven't asked you for all your references. Whenever I ask you for references,
I'll give
you
you
haven't
any
had references.
reference you
No,
want.
you
I'll
haven't.
give you any reference
No,
you
you
want.
haven't. Right?
I will.
So this great victory against the people with 30, 40 years old technology, and they were getting the technology from who? From the United
That's
States
false.
of America.
Until 67,
you know,
Israel was the
they're suckled by America all the way, right? And then they're
1967,
claiming,
Israel was the underdog
and then
of the
they're
Middle
claiming that this great war they fought was just solely upon their own backs. No,
In 67
absolutely
war,
not.
Until 1967. Wait.
You have been
Until-
supported
Let me finish my words.
by
I'm talking to you.
billions and billions and billions of US dollars when it comes to arms.
credit. It's
the
not
most
actual money.
sophisticated weaponry that you could ever get.
We
right?
developed them, not them.
Yeah, now you do. Now you've
Again,
moved.
until
now
1967,
now you've made killing
Israel was not actually
more
supported by the
efficient
US.
than it was before. I agree
Until
with you.
1967, Israel wasn't actually supported by the US. Israel was the underdog of the Middle East. After they won in this war, they
So
started
where did
actually
all of
getting
your arms
support.
come from? Where did all your airplanes come from? You didn't make them, did
All
you?
over. What do you mean? Even in 48, they brought lots of arms.
So where did
to
all
fight
your
the
arms
British.
come from? America.
No, also from the British and
America.
from many others.
America, predominantly. So let's not
Until now, most of the
let's
guns
not try to
most of
let's
the
not-
guns in the Israeli army are guns
Listen,
from the period
the
of World War
argument
II.
is a simple
Let
one.
me finish my word again. Until now, most of the guns in the IDF are guns that were used in World War II. Most of them, complete most of them. They were not given by the Americans or anyone, right? You have the
Israel sophistication in making armaments today
Heights
and guns are at a level where
we're talking about 67,
at
right?
a
You said
level,
that
at a
Israel got
level,
weapons
at a
from the
level,
US.
at a level.
In 67, Israel was
Listen,
independent.
it's well known that Israel was dramatically
We're known to someone who reads Al Jazeera, but for someone who actually sticks to the fact,
no.
never.
This is just the facts, as it were. It was
it's like
supported.
explaining to a blind man what red looks like. What you're
Supported
doing is
by
ignoring
Britain,
everything.
supported by Israel, supported by America.
Britain abstained in the UN
America.
vote. How were we
Listen,
supported by Britain?
So you're telling me you got no arms from America?
There were arms.
So let's
from
leave that then.
America.
Let's please move
Like
on.
a jet that
Let's
they
not
got,
pretend.
They got few tanks.
Jets, tanks.
Versus six Arab
you know,
armies. Versus six Arab armies.
Listen,
they were also backed up by other countries.
When you listen to me, when you have the great.
Can I blame
no,
now all the?
Are you going to interrupt
can
me
I
now?
blame now
You're
the
going to interrupt
13
me now?
countries who backed up the
You're
six
gonna-
Arab armies?
You're going to interrupt me now?
Again,
You said I interrupt you. I try
but
to speak, you interrupt me straight away.
Because I'll forget my point afterwards. I'm just saying this because you're saying it's a violation of international law and stuff, right? Using over force. The 6-day war or the Yom Kippur
Disproportionate
war,
force, yes. 6
different countries attacked Israel. That's completely disproportionate force. They were also backed up by 13 other countries.
If you go to a very good website called If Americans Knew, they explain the catalyst of why the Arabs attacked the Israelis.
Why? Explain to me.
And if you look throughout history, it was because of entire towns being wiped out and many people being killed by the settlers, which prompted these wars.
There were no settlers
that prompted this,
until
right?
1967.
When I use the word when I use the
word
word settler, I'm talking about somebody who goes in and steals somebody else's land and occupies that land. What I find very difficult is that despite the evidence that is available widely, that you still stand here and you defend the actions of Israel. I find that
I'm not defending any bad
really
action.
deplorable.
I'm saying
completely deplorable.
But again, you put words in my mouth. I'm saying I condemn any killing of any people. I'm against any killing of any people. Any killing of any people. All right? I'm against
Do you accept the
extremists.
Nakba then?
What do you mean?
The Nakba.
Accept it.
Yeah, do you accept the Nakba?
No, I'm against explaining any people. But again, the Nakba for you,
Do you recognize the Nakba?
I recognize. Of course, I recognize it because it's
Do you,
suffering of
do you
people.
think it's a historical fact?
No, but again, you ignore most of the context because what you say
Is it an
Nakba.
historical fact?
What do you mean?
The Nakba, is it an historical fact?
There are lots of exaggerations about it. So tell me what you mean by the Nakba. and
Okay,
I'll
so
explain to you.
why it is denied in
No, but tell me what
Israeli school?
Nakba means for you, and then I'll tell you if I agree with it or
Cleansing
not.
of many villages after the creation of Israel in
Many of them
1948.
also left because of the war.
Why it is
The
denied?
Jordanians now see the
He
videos.
admitted to me earlier that 400 villages or whatever you said,
500.
500 and something villages were forcibly emptied.
Not forcibly destroyed. Some of them.
Destroyed and
No,
emptied.
no, no.
Not only- not
Many of
only-
them.
Hold on a second.
Again,
Hold on a
so
second.
if you can
Hold on a
actually
second.
check the journal,
Hold on a second.
check the journal, for example,
Yeah.
of the minister of the Syrian Minister of Defense.
Right.
From this time, he also mentions
Right,
it,
yeah.
that he feels sorry that they encouraged the Arabs to leave the land of Palestine, British mandate Palestine.
yeah.
Right. On the other hand, you also have it's also recorded, right? Not recorded actually. I think documented. To say. Right, that the Jordanians also encouraged Arabs to move out of the land, and many other people also moved because of the war. There were also people who were exiled, right? The number I gave you is of villages who were destroyed. Some of them were evacuated, some of them not. So people left.
So you said that. So you said that the Jordanians, some of the Arab nations, encouraged some of the people to leave. Yes.
many of them.
What about
It's also mentioned.
what about the hundreds of villages where they were forcibly removed? What about
It's not
those?
100, it's around 180.
Okay, let's leave it.
Around 180 to
let's
190.
even go with your figure. 190 villages
I'm against that.
forcibly removed.
I'm against it, but
You
there was a
thi-
war,
you-
right? All the Jews from the West Bank.
Hold on a second. So
I never said it's okay.
Hold
I
on a
literally said
second.
I'm
You saying
against
you saying it was a war? Yes, it was a war. Yeah.
Again,
No, you're saying it's a war. Yes.
in 90s, again, in the
No,
independence war,
were there
in the
civilians in those villages?
Palestinians, right? Arabs were forced to.
Were they civilians?
Can you let me finish a word?
No, I have to answer the question though.
So that's part of the answer. Let me answer.
Right. What's the answer?
The same way as Arabs were evacuated from their villages within all over the land of Israel during this war, also Jews were evacuated from the West Bank, right?
Does that
The
make it
Jews of
right?
Jerusalem never said it's right. I'm
Okay.
against.
So are you
I'm just
against?
saying.
Are you against what the brother said about the Nakba then?
I'm against
about these
expelling-
villages being emptied
I'm
out?
against expelling people, but that's a consequence of a war. What do you expect?
No,
from a
hold on
war?
a second. But were those civilians?
I'm against expelling any people.
Were they civilians? Were they army combatants?
Both sides were civilians. We had no army back then.
So they were civilians. So what should happen to those people? Should they get their land back?
To me personally, I think that everyone should get compensation, right? So also the Jews from the Arab countries should get their money back or the property back.
You know, I advise you to watch a
should be
documentary
Palestinians.
about Morocco, about the Moroccan Jews. Yes, very interesting documentary. Yes, Mossad goes to. This was the plan to get the Jews, as many Jews into Israel as possible. They made this false narrative that the Arabs are all going to kill you.
Really?
The people are going to destroy you. Yeah, no, I'll give you. Listen, I will qualify the statement so well that inshallah, if the people go away, they view it themselves. It's from Jewish testimony.
Really?
Okay. And you know what, brother? Many of those Jews today are coming back to Morocco.
False.
You know why?
That's
You know why they're coming back to Morocco?
That's a false
I met
claim.
a Moroccan Jew myself, and I asked him.
My father was born
and I asked him, and I asked him.
My father was born in Casablanca.
Well, that's fine. Let me just
many
talk about
other
the one.
Jews.
Let me just talk about the one that
but
I
again,
met.
you tell lies.
I'm telling lies
100%
now.
lie. You just ignore the whole concept of Jews.
Okay. What did I lie about?
Hold on.
Let me
I
finish
think-
my word. No,
so-
I'll finish
What
my
did I?
word.
What did I lie about?
Wait.
What did I lie about?
Let him finish.
What did I lie about?
No, but it's a lie because
No, what's a lie?
you just ignore the whole concept.
What's the lie?
That's why I'm trying to again.
Please
let me
do.
answer, otherwise I wouldn't be able.
Right.
You just ignore the whole part between Jews.
The Lavan affair.
You just ignore.
In Cairo, yeah?
You just ignore the whole concept of Jews wishing to go back to their homeland. All the Jews of Morocco, all of them, literally all of them.
What did I lie about?
Were Zionists. All of them.
What did I lie about?
No, not true.
Because it's not because of the Mossad. Jews
What did
wanted
I?
to go back to
So
Israel.
Mossad
all
didn't
the
do that. Are
history.
you saying Mossad did not do that?
No.
So you're saying Mossad did not go, and Israel did not have a concerted
First of all,
effort?
it's not the Mossad. People had the interest to help Jews to go back to their homeland.
Listen to me.
Jews from Morocco, like my family,
So there was an
example.
active organization.
No, it was people, individuals. To bring their families.
There was an
my
active-
uncle, for example, came to Israel.
Listen,
My uncle came to
what
Israel.
did I lie about? Tell me what I lied about.
Alright, I have an uncle. He passed away when he died when he was over 80.
What did I lie
When he was
about?
younger, he came to the land of Israel.
Okay, what did I
Every
lie
time he was
about?
created, and he was part of the people who tried to encourage people
What
to
did
go
I
there.
lie about?
that it's not because of the Mossad. Jews wanted to go there. That's part of the culture.
So you're saying
Zionism is literally part of Judaism, but you ignore it.
so you're saying that Mossad actively went there to create a narrative so that the Jews would leave and go to
No one
Israel
thought
is a lie. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because
Okay.
Jews wanted to go
So
there. Not because of being afraid of the Arabs in
so he's
Morocco.
claimed that that's a lie.
Abbas,
Brothers and sisters, what I'd like you to do, Jew, non-Jew, Muslim, Christian,
no, I
atheist,
have a
whatever,
fact, I have a
please
fact.
go and research this fact.
Historical fact.
Did Israel, and was there a lobbying, a concerted effort to go into these lands to create false flags, false narratives,
I've
false.
got two historical facts. I've got two historical facts.
to encourage the Jews to return to Israel, right? Or to go to
You
Israel,
said
actually.
return because you also know that it's returning home.
Well, look, brother,
not immigrating.
you're going to catch on one word and you're going to smile
No, but
as
that's-
if somehow you made a
but
up.
that's what exactly you're
This
doing.
is not how
That's
you
what
have a
I'm saying.
discussion.
Abbas, I've
Yes?
got two historical facts.
When I say return, when I say return, okay,
1954.
when I say return, it's a well-known fact that the Jews were there thousands of years ago. So that's not a controversial point. If I say they returned back to what they felt was their homeland, why is that controversial?
What was their
What does that mean? Does that mean they had a legitimate right to kick the Palestinians out? It doesn't mean that. So you smiling about me saying return
smiling.
is a silly way of acting, quite frankly.
Look,
You
again, you're-
see, Abbas, I gave two facts, yeah? Maybe he's not, he doesn't know that. The 11th of 1954, Cairo, bombing synagogues and
Yes.
Jewish restaurants. And who did this?
Yes.
The Mossad.
Yes.
The Mossad.
This is well known.
It's been called the Susanna operation.
Well known. Well known.
Susanna operation.
Well known.
again, part of the lies.
1954.
Well known.
Thank you.
Well known.
You follow it because it fits your
Baghdad.
narrative.
You see, what I urge.
Same thing.
What's your name? Sorry,
Eli.
Eli,
Eliran. بس
Abbas.
بالعربي بيقولوا لي Eli.
Eli. Yeah.
Eliran.
Eliran,
Are you
Eliran.
familiar with the Susanna operation?
But I'm again,
Aliran, what I would advise you
See,
to
when you
do,
don't know the truth, you do not.
as a brother in humanity, yes, when we see an injustice, we have to speak out against it. Until ordinary Jews like yourself, until ordinary Jews like yourself stand up and question what Israel is doing and really try to attempt to have peace, you're never going to have peace in that area. And you know,
we'll never have peace
and
with
the thing
people
is,
like foreigners who are
look,
standing right now here
this is not
and dividing
true.
the population.
This is not true.
Because you just feed the
listen.
just add
The
fuel to the
population
fire.
is already divided.
Really?
The
Have you ever
population
been there?
population is already
When I
divided.
was 14, I
Listen.
used to work in a factory in the West Bank with Palestinians and Jews.
Listen,
my
I'm
father
not-
works
I'm
with
not
them his whole
saying-
life.
I'm not
and generally,
saying-
wait, let me finish. Generally, the populations live fine. The problem is with the extremists on both sides. Not the Zionists or the Islamics.
Your argument is, I
it's
tell you what, your
extremists.
anecdotal experience.
Deny this historical fact like you.
Your brothers, your
I
anecdotal.
live in this land my whole life.
Let
I'm
me just
actually
finish.
able to engage with both populations in
I
their native
understand.
tongue.
Your anecdote.
And you're coming from the outside and preaching to me about what's happening
Well,
there.
I'll tell you
with
why.
false claims.
No, that's a very good thing.
an argument
That's a
isn't fair
very, that's a very good point.
But again, you just cut me off.
That's a
You're
very.
making a monologue.
I
to the
have
camera.
let him finish. I have.
I would love to talk
Hold
to
on a
you
second.
rather than him.
No.
You know what? Let's stop it.
No.
I respect you.
No. Before you go,
It's better for me to
but
talk
be-
to my
but-
cousins.
But
than
before
people
you go,
on the outside. It's not useful.
Before you go,
It's not useful.
you
Nothing
see,
will change between us.
You
But I
want
can talk to a cousin.
You want to? No.
I want to-
The point here is this.
I want to talk to a cousin. I
Yeah,
don't want
but
to
you
talk
made
to
some
others.
points. So be fair. Let me come back to those points. Your anecdotal experience of harmony between Palestinians and Jews. I'm not saying that there isn't. So it's a straw man argument. I'm not saying that all Palestinians and Jews are enemies, or they don't work together,
Majority of people
or they don't live together. Or I'm not saying that there aren't very good Jews who wish for peace, who wish to give equal rights to the Palestinians. I'm not claiming that. There are good people on both sides. I agree. But I'm not holding the Jewish people responsible for what happens to the Palestinian people. But the state of Israel, the government that you have there, is committing acts that are widely accepted by Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, B'Tselem, the United Nations, by the consensus of the global community, that this is oppression, this is theft. Okay, this is cleansing.
sides are being
This is
oppressed.
cleansing of a people. When you say to me, when somebody says
How
to
many
me,
Palestinians have been cleansed?
when
in
you
10
say to
years?
me, that this is a war, then you lost me. You know why you've lost me? because Mike Tyson in a ring with a 3-year-old is not a war.
Right, so if
it's a turkey shoot at best.
So again, so if
it's a turkey shoot.
Again, it's a false comparison.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
It's a false comparison.
It's an absolute perfect comparison.
So an average soccer player won't go to play against Messi again, right?
What sort of argument is this?
Messi is better.
What sort of argument is this?
But again, you're taking
what sort of argument is this?
You're taking an analogy, right? And you compare Palestine to a 3-year-old boy and Israel to like a massive person with weapons and stuff, which is false.
Well, why is that false?
Again, it's not comparable.
You know, Israel.
A baby would never kill 24,000.
All right, let me ask you a question. Yes, we talk about threat. We talk about danger. Yes.
24,000
Is Israel?
were killed.
If Israel today wanted to destroy all of the Arab nations, all of them.
It's not connected.
Hold on a second. No, but
many countries can do it.
Hold on a second.
As long as you have nuclear power,
just
any
relax.
country can do
If
it.
Israel wanted to destroy that entire region single-handedly without the help of America, could it do so?
Iron Dome.
Could it do
Iron
so?
Dome is not an attacking system. Iron Dome is a defending system.
That's it. No. Could it? Yes. Could it do so?
Capabilities to look, it did so.
They have the capacity.
Could it do so?
It's not able to.
Don't try to make these snidey remarks. Just try to answer the question. Just answer the question.
They have the capacity.
You have the capacity.
They have the capacity.
You have the capacity. You have the capability. So please, don't give me your crocodile tears. Yes? Don't give me the crocodile tears of how you are under threat. You have the capability of annihilating that whole region. And now you're crying like, oh, we are under threat. Come on, please. Please. Please.
Please do something for your people.
Okay, so answer my question then, yes? If you want to destroy the whole region single-handedly,
How it's connected.
you can do so, right?
Iran with nuclear weapons.
Yes or no?
To do the same.
Yes or no? Can you do so?
What's the concept?
I'll give you the reasoning.
You're not gonna get an answer because I know how you're handling.
You don't want to give me the answer. I'll give you the answer.
Yeah.
So when you have the crocodile tears of playing the victim, that all these Arabs are trying to kill us and we need to do this, I can't, it's laughable. The world is laughing. Amnesty International is laughing. Human Rights Watch is laughing. The United Nations are laughing. The global community is laughing. Okay? Because there is not this existential threat that their nation is under threat. Israel exists. Israel is more than capable, powerful, militarily, strategically, with its partners, with its people allies.
Continue with your monologue.
It has
You have
no
point.
threat.
But again, you're making a
No
monologue for
threat.
the cameras.
No threat. So when you
threat.
claim that it's a war,
No threat.
that's not a war.
24,000 who are being
That's
killed
not
from
a
the
war.
Israeli side and
That's not a war.
34,000 from the Palestinian side. It is a threat.
I already
Indeed.
explained to you.
But again,
I already explained to
for
you.
you, as
that
an individual,
a war.
let me finish my words. Otherwise, I
You,
cannot
did,
talk to
you have finished your words.
All right, so I'll finish the
you just said
conversation.
you just said that if this figure and this figure, it's a war.
I cannot finish literally one sentence.
You did exactly the same thing to me, but now you're crying again. You see,
not crying. Let me
I'm not upset. You interrupted me.
You're making a monologue
You
to the
interrupted me
cameras
many times.
instead of engaging.
Did you interrupt me?
Again,
Am I walking off?
because I cannot finish
No.
the sentence. So how can,
You cut me off many times. You cut me off. He's not an innocent bystander. I can tell you that.
saying,
I know he's not innocent.
in your
Because from the very beginning, all he's been doing is supporting this guy. That's not innocent.
No.
Absolutely.
Asking for
Absolutely.
balance.
Because now he's supporting him, he's innocent, and he's balanced. Please,
again,
please,
in
please.
your subjective opinion,
Yeah.
you don't see a conflict by the amount of death. For Israel, right, if we compare the amount of people who got killed from both sides, and you see that Palestinians, 34,000 Palestinians killed, 24,000 Israelis killed, for us as a country, as people, it is a danger. For you, maybe not,
Okay, so
and you laugh about it.
So let me ask you a
For us,
question.
no, it's not such a big difference.
So let me ask you a
Until
question.
people have got
So let me
killed.
ask you a question. If
It's
there are
useless.
zero
I'm finishing
zero
the conversation
fatalities
now because you're not listening.
No,
and
because
I
this
have
is what you
more
have to
for
do
yourself.
now.
No, there are people
You
who
have
are
to do your last little line, and you have to leave.
There are people who are
Okay,
more actually
okay.
willing to
I'll
listen.
talk to the camera. You can go.
Of course,
Bye-bye.
that's what you're doing
Have
for
a
the
lovely
past
day.
2 hours.
Now he claims that it's about how many die here, how many die there, and that's all you look at. Now, what if there are no deaths on the Arab side and there are no deaths on the Palestinian side? Can there still be subjugation, oppression? Can there still be war crimes? Yes. Because if you take all of the land forcibly with the barrel of a gun, which is what they do, it's still a war crime. The fact that you're very clever about it and you just don't go and nuke them and just wipe them off from the face of this earth because you know that the public opinion, the global community will condemn you and hold you to account for war crimes, you don't do that. But what do? You strategically nibble away with a very long-term plan. Go and see the maps of Israel since 1948. Look at the colored areas of Palestinian land and Israeli land. How does that happen? By accident? This is a war? No. If you're just going to look at how many people die and from that you equate everything, come on. This is a ridiculous way of looking at it. They are subjugated and they are oppressed. This is widely agreed. There are war crimes being committed against the Palestinian people. Widely agreed. I just find it distasteful when our Jewish community defend Israel, or when anybody, for that matter, Christian or whoever you might be, atheist, you defend the oppressor in light of or instead of defending the oppressed. How is that just? How is that fair? You know, if these were white Christians living in Palestine and Israel was doing this to them, the world would not be quiet. But because they are Arab, they look brown, okay, they have a lot of Muslims in there, and there's a minority of Christians in there, it's okay. Because these are the fanatic Arabs, these are the crazy Arabs, these are the crazy brown people. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Fanatic Arabs.
What, in Israel? In Israel, the Israel rhetoric is that these Arabs are bloodthirsty killers.
Not true.
Go on YouTube. Look at all the social experiments.
YouTube?
Social experiments.
So
when they ask the public.
YouTube?
No.
Social
I'm saying that's. I'm saying when you look at Israeli politicians, what they speak about the Palestinian people, what do they say about them?
Agreed.
Right.
Some of them are racist. Some of them are racist.
Very racist, openly.
I agree with you, but the problem, the issue that I have, I'm a Jewish guy, yeah?
Right.
My family lives in Israel. I grew up in France. I live in Britain for the past 10 years.
Right.
I'm like this guy, and you didn't give him really a chance to express himself. He really comes from a place of peace.
He expressed himself a lot.
He comes from a place of peace. Like he's one of those very rare young Jews that come, and that actually comes from a place where he's trying to unite people from both sides, as opposed to trying to divide. The way you depict the argument is literally white or black. One side is white, and the other side is a little bit more black, is a little bit more at fault here, and at blame for what's going on. I agree with you, there's a suffering on the Palestinian side. I agree with you, there is a disproportionate force. I agree. The problem is that you decontextualize everything, and you're not nuancing your argument. Your argument is Palestinians are white, and Israel are black.
I'm not saying that.
Israel are not white.
I didn't say that.
I'm telling you the first.
I didn't say that. You're strawmanning my argument. I'm not saying that. No. Did I disagree that rockets are fired into Israel?
But what did you?
Did I disagree that? Did I disagree? No. Did I disagree? Well, that's not me. That's Israel doing it. The Israeli Defense Authority, the Israeli Defense themselves, they laugh at these rockets. These rockets have no guidance system. They have no warhead. They are glorified fireworks. This is what the Israelis say. They are nothing but glorified fireworks. You know it and I know it. So what's the argument here?
Not necessarily glorified fireworks. People died.
People
died. Last war.
You say you're a Jew, right?
I'm a Jewish.
Right. Okay. I'm Muslim, right? Okay. You know and I know that these are not sophisticated armaments of the modern battlefield. These are nothing but glorified fireworks.
They're not sophisticated. That's fair enough.
There's no warhead.
Doesn't mean you need to diminish the impact that they have.
No. But there's an issue here. It's not about diminishing, but it's about at least recognizing what it is. They are glorified fireworks that at best damage 1 or 2 homes, literally. And as a consequence, and I would hope as a Jew you would see this as an injustice, that the bulldozers are operating 24 hours a day in response, and they are flattening 18,000 homes of the Palestinian people. That's not right, brother.
And even the Patriot
it's not right.
They're stopping 90% of their
No. In fact, a lot of them make it into Israel because they're not They can't even reach the cities. They can't reach any areas where you could even commit damage. So Israel basically ignores those. And the ones that it feels are going to come, because I think the Patriot missile costs $1 million per missile, Israel, being careful and prudent, and it should be, it doesn't want to waste those missiles. So it only knocks out what it sees as a threat. But the reality here is that you have a knight in shining armor with a big shield, with a massive sword, and on the other side you have a man holding a stick. And he wants me to say that this is a war.
You just said it was a glorified
that this is a battle.
Hold on, we just admitted
no,
on the other side.
This is not a battle. It's not a war.
And so where are you painting now once again the idea? If you're just generalizing them as being those people who have for sole mindset and purpose in their life to basically kick as many
no,
as you can find.
There is a systematic, and you can see this in reality. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. There is a systematic from day one intention to get rid of the Palestinian people and to replace it with a Jewish people, a Jewish state.
Is it institutional, or does that come from the population?
It comes from institution. And it is backed by many of the population, because they vote in right-wing governments. Because they vote in right-wing extremist parties.
Do you know what happened the last couple of
I think Sharon was an extremist and a murderer, quite frankly, and they voted him in.
Do you know the division that existed in the last election? How many different...
Yeah, because there was so many, but that was because of Netanyahu being so corrupt. The people were so dissatisfied with the level of corruption.
Agreed.
So what did? They wanted to punish him. And so as a consequence, many Jews decided that they weren't going to vote for Netanyahu. And they voted here, there, just to punish the government.
They actually voted mostly for Netanyahu. He had the most seats at the Knesset, but it's because they did a coalition on the other side to get rid of Netanyahu, which is corrupt. I agree with you.
He's corrupt, right? He was corrupt.
I agree with you on many things. On many things, I think he's very, very corrupt. But what happened is that there was a coalition on the other side whose sole and only purpose was to get him off. My point, what I'm trying to say, and it's very simple. I'm not as educated as him, neither as you. You seem to be a very educated gentleman. But it's the Israeli population, the Jewish population, is a very segmented population with different mindset, different origin, different opinions.
I don't deny that.
But you're unifying them into one sole and unique opinion.
No.
That's what. No.
I said when I say the word when I say the word Israel, I'm referring to the Israeli government and those that support that government. I'm not saying every Jew, because did you know? I know that many of the peace advocates for the Palestinian people are Jews.
Give me a name.
Many, B'Tselem, well-known organization. It's a Jewish organization for the protection of the oppression of the Palestinian people. Even in England, there are many outspoken Jews, who are not happy with what Israel is doing, and they speak out openly about it. So there are very many, and that's why I don't want this discussion to become a Jewish-Muslim discussion. I don't want it to be about Judaism and Islam. This discussion, there are many good Jews, many good Arabs who want peace. And there are people on both sides, and unfortunately on Israel, the last 70 or 80 years, virtually everyone they voted in wants to simply increase the settlements, take away the Palestinian land, which are illegal under international law, and they just keep expanding and they keep going. And they don't care what the world says. The world says one thing, and they say, whatever, we'll do what we want to do.
So how do you make things better? Tell me.
How you make things better is the first thing you do. Just like an alcoholic, he has to first stand up and say, my name is John, and I am an alcoholic. He has to accept that he has a problem. Until you accept you have a problem, you will never have a solution. Israel and the Jewish people who have supported Israel, they need to stand up and they say, look, what happened to the Palestinian people was a great injustice. We recognize it as an injustice. Now, you are our cousins. You Arabs are our cousins. Let us cousins sit down and let's come to some solution where you are compensated for the losses that you've had. Maybe we give you some of the land or much of the land, or we try to live in harmony together. But if you don't even recognize there's a problem, how can you have a solution? You can't have a solution. And I'm sorry to say, and I would hope, watch this debate with Professor Norman Finkelstein and Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz is a Harvard law professor. Professor Norman Finkelstein is also from father and mother were both in concentration camps. He's an ethnic Jew. They have a debate. Why I keep bringing up this debate is because they covered many territories that we discussed with the brother. I forget his name now. Irian, yes, Irian. Many of these discussions were brought up by Alan Dershowitz and Professor Norman Finkelstein, meticulously with evidence, completely overturns those arguments. So when Israel claims we don't attack civilians, he brings out reports where people in wheelchairs with a white flag are being shot by the IDF. We can't just ignore these things.
Watch it. I never watch it. I'll watch it.
I would hope you watch it, honestly. And take my number, and if we want to have a coffee together, as a Jew, as a Muslim, I'll be happy to, come meet you and have a coffee with you and discuss things further. Because I think this is what's positive. Why I'm so passionate about this subject, not because I hate Jews, because as a Muslim, we're not supposed to hate anybody. We hate the action, we hate what they do, maybe yes, but we don't hate people. And we don't put people together in one group and say that we hate them. This is tribalism, this is racism, this is fascism. And the Prophet ﷺ came to destroy this. So we're not here to do hate. But why I'm so passionate is that those people don't have a voice. The Palestinian people don't have a voice.
Really?
International media, and the suppression, just because something is reported a lot.
Have a voice if it's the most reported
Just
conflict
see
in the
now.
world.
Look at Joseph's argument. What a childish argument.
No, I'm just saying they've got a voice.
How can somebody have a voice logically just because of the consequence of it being reported a lot?
Well, that's a voice.
No, you see, you're very foolish, Joseph.
I know, I'm very
because
foolish. You're right,
because it depends on who controls the voice.
So the
Who controls whose voice is heard?
The overwhelming majority of the media is negative to Israel.
Well, Joseph, the point here is this. If you have something which is manifestly and evidentially true, no matter how much you try to suppress it, the evidence comes out.
So we agree they have a voice.
When I say they have no voice, is because many times for Palestinian people, they don't have they don't have the level of sophistication of media, monetary backing, and reach that lobbyists have.
Riddle me this.
That lobbyists have in Israel that extend that reach out into the international community. You're well aware of this, so please don't play dumb on this.
So let's just.
And that makes a difference. Now, when Murdoch, who owns the Sun newspaper and used to own Sky, I think he owns less of it now. He owns very right-wing media in America like Fox News and in Australia. Okay, when he says I'm a friend of Israel, what does that mean? What does that mean? What do you do for a friend? You look after your friend. You do what's right for your friend. You don't care so much about the other side. And when you have an editorial policy to only bring in people that will agree or go with the party line or the media line that you wish to portray, that's a very powerful thing. So no, they don't have the voice that the Jews have, the Israelis have.
Okay, so
it's not equal. It's not equal.
Let's just test that. I just waited patiently. Let me please respond. So if we look at every single mechanism, every system for amplification of voices, whether it's the media, whether it's human rights organizations, whether it's the United Nations, all of them are amplifying the Palestinians' voice. So let's take the United Nations. There have been more critical resolutions of Israel than all of the rest of the countries
Why is that?
combined. Hear me out.
No, but
I didn't interrupt
Don't
you.
make several points, though. Make one point. Let's deal with that one point. It makes a more meaningful discussion.
Let me finish. We'll stay. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Staying on the point. There have been more critical resolutions of Israel than every other country in the world combined. I'll finish and then you can respond. When you compare that to what happened in Syria, 500,000 dead in a few years, Iraq 1 million dead, Rwandan genocide, what's happening with the Uyghurs, North Korea, you name the nation, you add those millions of people that have been slaughtered together, and there have been more critical resolutions at the United Nations of one country.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
However you measure that crime, whether it's death tolls, whether it's oppression of people, whatever, there are nations which do almost exponentially worse crimes than what you would accuse Israel of doing. So you want to count death tolls?
Don't switch the argument. Let's stick to that argument.
So that is
Let me deal with that. Let me deal with that.
United Nations.
Let me deal with that. Okay. So now this is Joseph's, respectfully, I would say, weakness in his argument.
Okay.
So he is saying that there's been a lot more reporting about the Palestinian conflict.
Critical reporting.
And in particular, he's saying there's far more United Nations resolutions passed against Israel. First of all, I would say, okay, well, why is that?
And I would say
that's because Israel's being a very naughty boy.
No, I would say
right?
It's because nations vote in accordance to their foreign policy. And so it's in the nation's interest.
Joseph, I didn't interrupt you.
You asked the question.
No, I didn't interrupt you.
It was a rhetorical question.
Yes, it was a rhetorical question. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, this conflict has been going on for over 70 years. So cumulatively, you would expect there to be a lot more reporting. So it doesn't follow that just because there's less reporting in Rwanda, which lasted for what, about 8 months?
Pakistan,
9 months?
It's gone long,
Let's not list things as long as your arm.
That's relevant.
Let's deal with your...
Don't respond to my argument. Don't refute
Now,
me.
Joseph's interrupting me.
Sorry.
Joseph's trying to do what Joseph always does, which is shotgunning. So what Joseph does is he tries to you throw in a whole. I only need to give you one example, and your argument is defeated. Because your argument is that they do have a voice. I'm telling you that when you have a military power that subjugates and oppresses a people, that controls the internet, that controls the media, that controls who can enter and who cannot exit, what reporters are even allowed and not allowed, then you can't say that there is some equality in terms of raising your awareness or raising your voice. It simply is not logical or rational for you to argue in that way. Now the point here is this, Joseph, and I ask you the question because the other brother, Eliran,
He ran away.
Eliran could not answer. Is human rights, Amnesty International, the United Nations, and the global community all wrong when they say that Israel routinely commits war crimes on the Palestinian people?
Yes.
They're all wrong.
Would you like me to explain why?
Please do.
So each of the institutions that you name go they all have interests. So if you're looking at human rights organizations, they are dependent on donations, yeah? So in the first year of the Syrian war, Human Rights Watch mentioned the conflict in Israel